It's been a sort of an unraveling. Just something about the struggles in the family.
I have no desire, Mary, to have a relationship with you. Those were Cody Brown's exact words. And for millions of Sister Wives fans, they hit like a slap in the face. Because if you've followed this saga for years, if you've watched Mary's slow unraveling on screen, then you know this wasn't just a breakup. It was an erasure. A quiet dismissal of over 30 years of love, family, and sacrifice. And when Mary finally began to speak, just barely the world leaned in close. But what they got wasn't a tell-all. It was a whisper, a carefully curated silence. And that silence, it speaks volumes. See, fans didn't want scandal. They wanted truth. They wanted clarity from a woman who had stood silently on the sidelines while Cody paraded his favoritism for Robyn, who stood quiet while her marriage was dissected on national TV. But Mary, she wasn't interested in being the center of a dramatic confession. She insisted firmly that not everything needs to be said. And while that might sound graceful to some, for others, it felt like a betrayal. Because when someone's been hurt as deeply as Mary has, silence can sound a lot like complicity. The backlash was almost immediate. Fans who had supported her, who had hoped for a redemption arc, felt abandoned. Why wouldn't she speak? Why wouldn't she name the truth everyone saw playing out? Janelle had spoken, Christine had raged, but Mary, she stayed poised. She stayed polished. And more than anything else, she stayed vague. Just because I'm divorced, she said, doesn't mean I need to spill all the tea. But that little word need, that's what got people talking. Because it wasn't that she couldn't. Spill the tea? She could. And that made fans desperate to know what's really being kept locked away. Over time, the silence became a bigger story than any revelation could have been. The internet lit up with theories. Some called it dignity. Others called it fear. Some believed Mary was covering for Cody and Robyn. Others believed she was protecting herself. But then came a shift. A name. A quiet presence that had been there all along. Jen Sullivan, Mary's best friend. And suddenly, the focus shifted from the past she wouldn't talk about to the present she wouldn't leave. Because while Cody and Robyn were closing on million-dollar real estate in Flagstaff, Mary was putting her life on hold. Her dreams. Her plans. Even her move to New York. All of it went on pause when Jen's husband received a devastating cancer diagnosis. And Mary, she didn't announce it. She didn't post a dramatic video. She didn't make it a PR moment. She just stayed. Quietly, steadily, completely. She cooked meals, sat in waiting rooms. She held space. And for many, that changed everything. It reframed her silence. It recast her quiet. Maybe Mary isn't withholding to protect Cody or Robyn. Maybe she's simply built that way. Loyal, fierce, devoted to the people she loves, even when it costs her everything. And when fans saw the full depth of what she gave to Jen, some softened. This wasn't a woman afraid to speak. This was a woman who protects the people she loves, even if it means swallowing her own story. But even that realization came with discomfort. Because it felt eerily familiar. They'd seen this version of Mary before, back when she kept shrinking herself to stay in Cody's world. When she justified the neglect, the rejection, the cruelty. Back when she gave and gave and gave, Vaughn got nothing in return. So yes, Jen's friendship is different. It's mutual. It's safe. It's real. But to longtime viewers, it still felt like a rerun. A new chapter, but the same story. Mary choosing to pour herself into someone else's pain instead of healing her own. And then, just when the conversation seemed like it couldn't get any deeper, the money talk began. The financial puzzle that's haunted the Brown family for years. Suddenly, viewers weren't just questioning Mary's emotions. They were questioning her silence on something far more concrete. Dollars, property, coyote, pass. Because when Robyn and Cody bought that massive Flagstaff mansion, questions started to swirl. $2, $1 million, a $420,000 cash down payment. People wanted answers. Where did that money come from? How did a couple who spent seasons whining about financial hardship suddenly have the funds for a luxury estate? And more importantly, why? Hasn't Mary said a word? It's because when the Coyote past profits were revealed,
On my mind, it's rolling through, and I'm replaying and rehashing discussions and rehashing my life and how
eyebrows shot up. The land was split, Janelle, and Mary got one half. Cody and Robyn got the other. Wait, what? Why not thirds? Why not equally between the wives? Why was Robyn's financial involvement separate from Cody's? And why didn't Mary fight back? The silence here was different. It didn't feel like loyalty, felt like guilt, complicity. The kind of silence that suggests someone knows something but chooses not to say it. And for fans, that was even more devastating. Because now, the woman they thought had been taken advantage of might have participated in decisions behind the scenes that left others worse off. Christine fought. Janelle protested. But Mary, she walked away quietly with her bed and breakfast and not much else. And as rumors spread about her New York move being scrapped, the symbolism was impossible to ignore. New York was her fresh start, her clean slate, her independence, and she gave it up. For Jen, for friendship, for love. Yes, it was noble. Yes, it was noble. Yes, it was human. But it still left people wondering, is Mary addicted to sacrifice? Or does she simply not know how to choose herself? Even in her most recent live chats, Mary drops hints. She talks about future relationships, about dating again, about not carrying the past forward. She says she won't compare her new partner to Cody, that she won't trash talk the past. Paper, that's healing. But online, fans saw something else. They saw the same pattern of grace over truth, politeness over accountability, and it raised a chilling question. If Mary can't name the harm, how can she avoid repeating it? The heart of it all, this isn't just about Mary's silence anymore. It's about why that silence persists. Is it self-preservation? Is it shame? Is it a refusal to see herself as the woman who stayed in a loveless marriage for decades, hoping to be chosen again? Because speaking up truly, speaking up would mean confronting all of that. Not just Cody's betrayal, not just Robyn's manipulation, but her own participation in the slow unraveling of her worth. That's a hard truth to face. And maybe that's why, even now, after everything, Mary can't bring herself to tell the whole story. Because doing so wouldn't just hurt Cody and Robyn. It would expose the raw truth of how long she stayed, of what she allowed, of how much she gave. And that kind of confession, it doesn't come easily, especially when the entire world is watching. Still, fans haven't given up hope. They see the flickers, the near slips, the accidental comments, the tears she hides when talking about missed opportunities, the way her voice trembles when discussing sacrifice. They know there's more, that beneath the quotes and the Instagram affirmations, there's a vault of pain, one that might crack open someday, one that, if she lets it, could finally tell the truth. Because, in the end, Mary's silence is either her shield or her cage, and sooner or later, she'll have to decide. Does she want to be remembered as the woman who kept her secrets, or the one who finally told her truth? Let us know in the comments, what do you think is really behind Mary's silence? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon because the next video is already on its way. When the truth sits too long in silence, it doesn't disappear. It rots. That's what fans are beginning to believe about Mary Brown's carefully preserved image that, for all its serenity and strength, now appears to be cracking. Under the weight of unanswered questions, her refusal to speak has shifted from graceful to suspicious, from noble to confusing. and from personal choice to possible cover-up. Because here's the thing about silence, it's not just the absence of noise. It becomes a statement in itself, a defense. And to many longtime viewers, Mary's silence now feels like an alibi, one that's growing harder and harder to ignore. As Robyn and Cody continue to live comfortably in their luxury Flagstaff home, Mary's soft deflections about moving forward ring increasingly hollow, especially when new questions arise about money, about property, and about who knew what and when. Insiders claim there were shared family accounts, group investments, quiet transfers, refinancing deals behind the scenes. And while no one has pinned wrongdoing directly on Mary, the suggestion that she knew on said nothing has turned a once sympathetic silence into a possible smokescreen. Viewers are no longer asking, why won't she talk? They're asking, what is she afraid of revealing? And the timing of it all. It couldn't be more curious. Just as fans thought Mary might finally step into her truth, reclaim her narrative, and speak out like Christine and Janelle, she retreated, disappeared into the comfort of her friendship with Jen. And that's not a bad thing unless, of course, it's another way of disappearing from herself. Because even Jen, in her most heartfelt admissions, has talked about how much Mary gave up, how much she dropped, how deeply she threw herself into someone else's crisis. And while that's beautiful in theory, it's also eerily familiar. This isn't the first time Mary has defined her worth by being indispensable to someone else. Let's rewind. For years, Mary stood in the shadows while Cody publicly favored Robyn. She stayed loyal, even when her husband made it clear, that their relationship was over. She remained silent when her marriage was mocked, her presence ignored, and her value diminished. And now she's doing it again, not with Cody, not with the other wives, but with her own dreams. New York wasn't just a move, it was a metaphor, a bold leap into selfhood. A statement that she was ready to become someone outside of Cody Brown's orbit. But when the call came when Jen needed her, Mary answered. And while no one would criticize her for that choice, the pattern is undeniable. Mary's not just loyal, she's sacrificial, sometimes to her own detriment. And that brings us back to the question fans can't shake. Is Mary protecting someone? Or is she still running from the truth of what she's been through? 'Cause, let's be honest, you don't spend decades in an emotionally abusive dynamic without internalizing some of it. And Mary's persistent need to be the bigger person, to avoid drama, to maintain dignity, it feels like the armor of someone still deeply hurt. Someone who hasn't quite confronted the fullness of what she survived. And worse, someone who might still carry a little guilt for having allowed it for so long. In the court of public opinion, silence is suspicious, especially when it's pro bono, especially when it's wrapped in phrases like some things don't need to be said. That kind of statement isn't closure, it's a mystery. And mysteries breed theories. Some fans believe Mary may have signed NDAs. Others think there were private financial settlements. A few even suggest she's saving receipts just in case. She needs them later. But no matter the theory, they all point to one thing. Mary knows more than she's saying. And then there's Robyn, the so-called peacemaker. The woman who cried tears of innocence while slowly replacing every other wife in the Brown family hierarchy. Fans haven't forgotten how Robyn inserted herself into every family discussion, subtly reshaped every dynamic, and somehow emerged as the one wife who just wanted everyone to get along while quietly benefiting from everyone else's downfall. And the fact that Mary still hasn't directly addressed any of that, it's baffling. She's not defending Robyn. Why won't she talk about her? Why not address the favoritism, the manipulation, the way Robyn swooped in with her children and reset the entire family balance? Because here's what hurts the most. The fans were rooting for Mary. For years, they watched her cry. They watched her get iced out. Right. They watched her apologize over and over just for existing. Okay. And now that she has her freedom, her independence, her story, she still won't tell it. She says she's protecting her peace. But some people think She's really protecting her past. 'Cause maybe, if Mary admits how deeply she was manipulated, how badly she was treated, she'd have to admit that she allowed it, that she defended it, that she enabled it for years. And that kind of truth, that's not just heavy, it's devastating. But here's the twist. Maybe Mary's silence isn't weakness. Maybe it's strategy. Maybe she's not finished building the life that will allow her to speak freely. Maybe she's not quite ready to give the world her full truth, because once she does, there's no turning back. The public wants a tell-all. They want a bombshell interview. But what if Mary's final story is more complicated than revenge? What if her silence is the only way she knows how to survive what she's lived through? It's not just about Cody and Robyn anymore. It's about Mary, about the woman who gave her heart to a man who let it wither, about the woman who held a family together while being pushed out of it, about the woman who, even now, may still be searching for the version of herself that existed before the Sister Wives brand consumed her identity. Because here's the truth no one's ready to admit. Mary was never